Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to the All Balls Sports Show, brought to you in part by Truelove's Pizza and Grits at 1144 Riverside Drive. A discussion of any and all sports, local, regional, and national. And now, here are your hosts, Dan Janes, Eddie Bobo, Ty Cobb, and the coach, Vance Ballou.
Howdy. Welcome into All Balls Sports Show for this Thursday, the 27th of September. Glad to have you along. Being brought to you by Truelove's Pizza and Grits, 1144 Riverside Drive, 388-7770. They are now open on Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays. And that would be Thursday from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. Closed Sunday through Wednesday. Went by today, had a nice conversation with Kathy. What are you pointing at? Oh, TV.
Look at them.
Oh, it's a little tent city. Isn't that nice? Hey, guys, good evening. It's just us tonight. I think Maurice Patton is going to be joining us a little bit later, and glad to have him along.
Well,
when he does show up.
You know why he'll show up. But anyway.
What goes with pizza?
We don't
Maurice.
We've never heard enough about beer today. All day long.
Oh, yeah. All the hearings in the judiciary and all that stuff. So, yeah, we've heard enough about all that stuff today. So, anyway, they're going to get cranked back up in the morning, I think, at 10 o'clock or something like that.
One thing.
What's that?
That tent city that you saw outside of the Penn State Stadium?
Yeah.
I bet you there's beer involved.
Bet there is, too. There's a lot of controversy with a lot of that from these local colleges now that are selling beer in their stadiums. Jury's still out about whether or not how well that's going to work.
Some stadiums don't need it.
No, they don't.
Some stadiums already had their own stuff coming in, and it was harder than
Well, I'm sure.
Well, you know, that was bootlegged in.
As a matter of fact, it seemed like we are always sitting around whoever was bootlegging.
The first time I ever ran into that certain situation, though, was as a teenager. I went to watch Vanderbilt and Alabama up in Nashville, and there was a man come in with what appeared to be a portable radio, and he sits down, and he had two guys with him, and they each had a Coke that they'd purchased at the concession stand, and they proceeded to pour a certain amount of the Coke off, and all of a sudden the man reached over and unscrews the antenna, and it's obvious that it's a giant flask. And so
it's the Philco flask.
Yeah, and he proceeds to fill each one of them's cup.
Oh.
Of course, me being me, sitting behind him, I stuck my cup over. He turned around, looked, and said, "I think you're a little young, son." I said, "Well, you can't blame a guy for trying."
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we were sitting at Vanderbilt, Tennessee game.
Yes.
Back in the 80s. I can't remember. It was probably around 85, 86. It was raining and probably a 50-mile-an-hour wind.
Oh, man.
The scoreboard, you remember the way the old stadium was,
right.
And the scoreboard down on
What do you mean old stadium? It's still an old stadium.
Stadium
but
They
actually, it was the new stadium because this was after 82 and it had been remodeled.
Yeah.
But anyway.
See, I was a Boy Scout when we used to be ushers up there in the mid-'60s. And that sucker hadn't changed up there much, man, I'm telling you.
But scoreboard was even blowing pretty hard. And we're right on the edge. And these two gentlemen in front of us they just had the bottle. They didn't have the radio or anything.
Right.
They were just pouring. They were obviously UT fans.
Doesn't matter.
And UT lined up to kick an extra point. And I promise you, the ball blew back to the 50. Much to the disgust of the two old men who said they could have gone down there and done a lot better job.
Yeah, I'm sure they could have.
With what they were. And I'm sure in the condition they were already in, they could have.
And another sport that you and I went to an event on, we were at Talladega. And I'll never do this again as long as I live. I'll never go back to the infield to park and watch the race.
I got a little story I need to tell you, but off camera and off microphone about that.
We left. the race was still going on.
Mm-hmm.
We got in the vehicle and we proceeded to try to get out. I guess we got maybe 20 yards, and everything stopped. But anyway, it took us 4 hours to get from the inside of the track to the outside of the track.
Yeah.
But as we were in the tunnel going out, there was these inebriated people in an RV.
No.
Brand new RV, by the way, too.
Oh, nice.
And it had rental on it also. Well, they were proceeding to try to go out the tunnel, and they're going down through there, and sparks are flying off the top where he's rubbing.
No.
And one of the inebriated fellas leans out the window, and he's looking at me. Keep going. It's all right. Keep going.
Now, you know that on race day, they have a temporary airport in behind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
And a
were
temporary-
very well
We got-
aware of
we-
it.
And a
We-
temporary tower.
We got a good look at all of that because it took us it took us 4 hours to get outside the track.
Oh, yeah.
It took us another 4 hours to get from the track over to the road that leads to the track. Then it took us another 2 hours to get from that road down to the interstate.
Yep.
And
Which, with the Goodyear blimp, you can see the interstate from the track.
It's not that far.
No.
It's not that far. But
But by the time they got the RV to the end of the track, it was open like it had been opened by a can
it looked like
it's
a
funny.
giant can opener just opened it up. Yeah,
But also, it said rental.
yeah. And I'd hate to pay the repair bill on that one, that's for sure. But and we on our way back, we've been driving for I don't know how long, and
been sitting longer.
It's been sitting longer than we actually drove. But we finally, about halfway back, decided we'd stop and get us something to eat. And of course, about the only place open at that time was a Waffle House, and we met some people that actually had met us down there, or went with us down there, but they were in a different vehicle. Somehow or another, they took a different road than we did, and they had already been to Waffle House and were on their way coming out when we were getting ready to go in.
They probably went to Atlanta.
It would have been faster to go to Atlanta and come back up than
doubt.
what it would go
I
to
don't
Birmingham. But
Been trying to get to Birmingham.
A
You
good
know.
win for the Columbia Central High Lions for the Backyard Bowl. And I don't remember, somebody brought this up the other day, and I don't remember Columbia Central ever playing or finishing up a game on a Sunday afternoon. We've done it many times on a Saturday.
but
Yeah.
but
But do you remember, Chip? And I don't think we've
No,
ever
now,
finished up on a
I
Sunday.
do remember a Spring Hill game where we had a horrible electrical storm right at halftime,
Yeah.
and they canceled the rest of the
game.
game,
Right.
because it really didn't have any bearing. As a matter of fact, I think Howard Stone was the interim Spring Hill coach at the time,
Right.
and Vance was the Central coach.
well,
And I was trying to remember. I don't ever remember going back to finish a game.
to be quite honest with you, now I'm a loyal Columbia Lions fan, but there needs to be an asterisk beside this game. Spring Hill was handling Columbia at halftime,
Agreed.
21-7.
Agreed.
They actually come out and kick off to start the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the storm hit or whatever, and then they postpone it. But my thing is, most sports, if you get half of the game completed,
which this was actually more than half of the game.
Right. If you get half the game completed and weather comes in, you don't finish it later. It's called, and whatever the score is at that point, that's the outcome of the game. And, you know, I mean, I'm glad Columbia came back on Sunday and won the game. Don't get me wrong. But my thing is, I think Spring Hill got shafted
because you get an extra 24 hours to study the huddle tapes, and figure out where you were going wrong.
And you get an extra 24 hours for you people that are, you know, injured or whatever to get a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know. There's a lot of things go into effect, and
it's not going to affect them this week because they're off.
Right,
so
right.
And that's normally what's the kicker is you don't want to.
But I guess it being the backyard bowl and the mayor's cup on the line that they had to make it a little more dramatic.
Didn't both of the coaches have to agree to that?
Yeah, they first was going to try to do it Saturday, but there was
too many conflicts.
So they agreed on Sunday.
And they're lucky, weather-wise, that they got it in on Sunday.
Yeah,
because
to be honest with you, this weather has sucked for a week.
I think Noah's boat ark is parked outside my house over there. I mean, you know.
But it is unusual. Now, I do recall we were getting ready for kickoff. This was in about 94 or 95. No, it was later than that. Vance was the head coach. And then all of a sudden.
I believe that was the Overton game.
Yes. And then they said, we can't play it. We're going to have to come back. Right. Of course, Vance wanted to play it because the track was –
right.
The field was messy, and it was going to slow down.
Slow them down and help us out.
That was the night that the Overton trailer got stuck coming out of the parking lot at Columbia Central. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But that
was the night that I called R.P. Williams, and he came out and brought the big puller and pulled that sucker out.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I can even kind of equate to it.
Yeah. But I don't believe we've ever finished a game on Sunday.
No.
Well, you know, if you hadn't got at least half a game done, I could see postponing and finishing at a later time, or just doing away with it altogether. Is if you can't set another date, you know, because it don't go against either one of us conference records or anything like that,
which is where we really need to be concentrating right now.
Right. We need to start being more.
I feel like it was
competitive.
Yeah, there you go. That's the word I was trying to figure out there. You know, I'm getting old, Dan.
Speaking of that, we're going to jump into this real quick. Eddie retires from work tomorrow, by the way, so he's going to be amongst. It's going to be among you and I will be the only two retired in the bunch.
You know, I saw this on Facebook, and I love the saying, so I'm going to say this. You know, what do you call somebody that's happy on Monday? Retired.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know what y'all can do.
Oh, and by the way, thank you for reminding me about Fralix Electric.
Yep. Did Jimmy come over and take care of it?
Jimmy came over and took care of it, and she's
Freon?
running like that. No, it wasn't. It was a capacitor.
Oh, okay.
So
capacitator.
Look like a beer can, but you know.
They do.
Look like the silver bullet.
They pop like beer can. Can.
My buddy Tudor Fralix has retired from Fralix Electric, but his son Jimmy has taken over, and Jimmy does wonderful work. So, being the cheap plug master that I am, anybody needing any kind of HVAC work, call Fralix Electric.
When I called him, I was talking to Tudor.
Were you?
Yeah, and I told him who it was. He said, "Yeah, I know you." I said, "Yeah, I know you do, Tutor." But he said, "Well, it'll be my boy Jimmy coming out." He says, "You've met him, haven't you?" I says, "No, I've heard his
just like him.
I said, "I've heard his name, but I've never have met him." He said, "Well, he looks just like my brother." He said, "Of course, I'm the older one." And but anyway, they did an outstanding job and had me going. And shoot, after spending that one night of like trying to sleep in a sauna, you know.
Yep.
That's hard to do.
Man, that first night after it was fixed, I went to bed before 7 o'clock.
There you go. Well, I didn't want to take away from talking about Columbia Central. The two bright spots right now for Columbia Central, I think, are Christian Biggers and Darian Davis.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you give those guys the ball, they're going to run it.
Yeah, you give them an
Christian
opening.
Biggers reminds me a lot of Jerron Moore. Now, Jerron was the one who got us to the 2009 state championship. Was not used properly in the 2009 championship, in my opinion.
Well, neither was Trey D either.
Well,
No.
that's true.
No,
That's true.
when you got
You should have lined up and handed the ball to each one of them every other play.
Yeah. And
Well-
after a while, these guys are going to get tired of getting hurt and
Yeah.
getting hit. But anyway, Biggers and Davis they're just awesome to watch.
Yeah, but my concern on both of those, well, especially Darian, we knew they were going to be relying heavily on him this year,
Right.
and my concern was that they were going to use him so much that it would lead to a possible injury, and Summit, they put some licks on him, man. They had him sandwiched in the.
Hey, it's Coach Greg Sedlowski right in the middle of my radio show. What's up, Coach? No, that's all right, man. No, they can't hear you. They can only hear me. So I'm to assume. I mean, when I left it was working. But if it's not, just use the PA. Like just don't turn it up real loud.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
All right, bud. See you, man. All right, bye. We were having some issues with the music delivery system
At the
Lindsey
stadium.
Nelson. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So actually, it's an amplifier problem, and amplifier is probably going to be changed out, but I can't do it today. So that's the reason I said what I said.
Okay.
So sorry to take that phone call, guys, but I mean, hey, when duty calls, you gotta answer the phone.
That's what happens.
It's our show. We do what we want to do, right?
That's right. Right.
But that's what happens when something comes up with your other job.
That's exactly right.
You may be retired, but you're busier than you ever was.
Yes, I am, and I'm grateful for that. I helped my son do something with Jane's Media today for the city of Columbia, which is kind of neat, down at Puckett's this afternoon. And then I went out to the stadium and tried to work on that and come in here and do the sports show. And the one thing about being retired is you can do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and when you want to do it. So there you go.
That was 2 wins in that.
Remind my wife.
When I get a
Now,
chance.
when's she going to retire?
She's looking at maybe mid-year of next year.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
She
she's
was
giving you a
looking.
little
She
time.
was looking at April. She may wait a little bit later than that, but you know. Anyway, that's what she's looking at. So,
2 words. Two words for you.
all right.
Stay busy.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
Don't worry.
I'm just saying. But I like doing audio work and going out and helping my son. He calls and he wants something voiced over, then I'll voice over for him and do all that kind of stuff. Jane's Media. If you need something for your business, call Ross Janes. Jane's Media.
All right.
Need something for your campaign.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, he's doing all the campaigns in town, which is kind of
That's
cool.
right.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Another sporting classic here. kudos to our Atlanta Braves.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, first time in a long time they made it this far.
Oh,
I agree. Then I've got a follow-up story about someone else. The Brewers, the
Brewers.
Milwaukee Brewers, clinched their first playoff berth since 2011 on Wednesday, which meant that the champagne and beers were flowing in the Milwaukee locker room. Joining the team was play-by-play man Bob Uecker, the Uke,
Great seats, huh, buddy?
who's been doing Brewers broadcast since 1971. Mr. Little Outside.
Just a little outside.
Well known for his hilarious role in Major League as the Indians' disinterested commentator, didn't shy away from the celebration.
Take over, Skippy. I'm out of
There
here.
you go, yeah. And they doused him with beer and champagne. Bob Uecker did.
sitting
So
on
the
front
Brewers,
row.
so the Brewers, they clinched.
Yeah.
So the Braves have
Cool.
clinched. So congratulations to both of them.
I
Said
think the
Uecker's-
Cardinals clinched
Uh,
at the same time.
Dot,
The
I think-
Brewers. No, the Cubs. Cubs.
Did the Cubs
Yes.
clinch?
I think so.
I think Dodgers are in it.
But I think St. Louis is close to
Being
getting
one of
in.
the wild cards or whatever.
And I'll bet you, him being the consummate Braves fan that he is, if we get Maurice Patton in here, I'll guarantee you he's going to go to the games in Atlanta.
Well, Chip called me one time and he said, "Hey, we're thinking about going to the Atlanta Braves games. Would you and your family like to come?" I said,
Sure.
"Yeah, sure. Sound like a good thing." He said, "Well, I'll get Annette to call and get us tickets." So he calls me back the next day. "Hey, Annette's got the tickets. Talk to the lady on the phone, and
We're right on the rail.
said we told her we wanted some good seats. That we'd be able to see the action and maybe get a foul ball or something, you know." And the lady said, "Well, I've got these seats all in a row, and they're one row from the rail on the first base side,
Is
which
this
is
the
home,
old-
home dugout.
Is
This
this
is
the
Fulton
old
County,
Fulton
right?
County Stadium?
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
all right.
So we get there.
Yeah, we were watching Turner Field being built.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right.
we get there and we come out, you know, onto the aisleway, and Usher's standing there, and we show him our tickets, and he points up.
Yep.
Well, it was one row from the rail, the top rail.
Yeah.
And when we all sat down, a pigeon flew between my wife and Chip's wife.
Which your wife had just said, we're so far up here, we're with the birds.
1975, all of us from the radio station WGNS in Murfreesboro, we would all go to the games in 74, 75. We'd go as a group, all of the radio disc jockeys. We'd leave one back to play the music while we're all going to Atlanta. The Braves were so bad at that time.
Oh, you could sit anywhere you wanted to.
Nakahoma didn't even want to come out and do anything when he was in his teepee out there in left field.
He was still getting drunk.
If you were going to be late, they requested that if you had a group of folks that you call them ahead of time, and that hold up the game till you got there. That's how bad they were.
Well,
But still, we had a good time going down there.
you remember Bobby Jewell.
Oh yeah,
He was a senior vice president of United Family Life, big insurance agency,
Mhm.
headquarters in Atlanta. Their company had box plus seats.
oh yeah, yeah.
And he could call and they'd say, well, same thing, Mr. Jewell, if you run a little late, let us know. We'll
Hold the game
for
up.
you. Yeah.
Well, I remember the first time I ever went to Fulton County Stadium. I was a Little League ball player, and Mr. Jimmy Matthews carried several of us boys down there to see a game. And we get down there, of course, we're pretty high up when we first get there. And the game starts, and the usher comes walking up to us and says, "Y'all want a better seat? Just go on down there."
Yeah. Yeah.
do
We'd like for y'all to all gather around behind home plate.
The thing that always stands out in my mind, the first ball game I ever saw at Fulton County Stadium was in 1968.
Uh-huh.
Got to see Bob Gibson
Yes.
But when we were walking at the tunnel to go out
Right.
to the seats, it looked like you were walking into the ocean. The seats were
yeah.
blue,
Blue
Oh,
and all
yeah.
that.
and
Yeah.
everything. I mean, it was just.
Yeah.
But that summer, we went down for a weekend, saw the Cardinals. Of course, got to see Gibson pitch. And then about a month later, we went down and saw him play San Francisco, and I got to see Juan Marshall
Oh,
on
boy.
the first one.
Yeah.
And then the next year, we went down and saw the Pirates.
Oh, Willie McCovey and
Oh, yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
With Stargell.
Stargell, yeah. Yeah.
But Roberto Clemente. But Stargell hit one in the
upper deck.
Upper deck.
Yeah. Yeah. He'd been known to hit a lot of them there. And I tell you what, Roberto Clemente had a lot of pop in his bat for his size.
And had a
everything.
great arm.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
He could throw them out. But I remember.
Oh, did you see Willie Mays with San
Yes.
Francisco? Did he do the basket catch while he was out there?
No, they didn't get to do that. But
You do that again,
the
I'll
Friday
bench
night,
you.
I remember the Friday night game. Aaron wasn't supposed to play because he was at his daughter's high school graduation. Well, it went to extra innings. He comes in still buttoning his shirt and pinch hits in like the 10th, 11th inning. And Jax won to dead center, and Willie caught it right against the wall.
Wow.
It would have, they would have won the
If
game.
if he'd have just
out.
pulled it a little bit, it'd
if
been
he'd have
out
pulled
there.
it, it'd been out. He hit it to dead center.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I didn't get to see it live. I wasn't at Fulton County whenever he broke Ruth's record, but I was watching it on TV when he did it, and I was happy for him. But
the backstory on all that.
You can look at the record though and say, well, yeah, he hit more home runs, but if you look at the amount of games played and yada yada yada, the amount of at bats and all that other stuff, no telling how many Ruth would have hit if he played the same.
Well, yeah, but you look at the
Same amount.
you look at the backstory on that, the death threats that he received.
Oh yeah, which is crazy.
It's nuts.
Yes,
It's nuts.
yes.
And then you got McGuire, who beats that record, but he's juiced up.
Well, and
there should be an asterisk beside that one too.
I think there is.
Is there?
Yeah, I think there is, and
Is there a juiced and non-juiced?
Well, all right, and then somebody else come along and beat that record.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Mr. Barry Bonds, and
Yep.
he was in another one that was
And I tell
juiced
you
up.
what,
Yep.
saw his daddy play for
Yes.
San Francisco
Yes.
during the same
Mhm.
time span. He played in the outfield
Mm-hmm.
with them. I mean, he was a great player. But it was good time. We'd stay at the Howard Johnson, and they had a pedestrian bridge.
Bridge and
And
walk
you just
across.
walk over the pedestrian bridge, and you're right there, walking into the stadium.
Really?
Yeah, and I
Pretty
remember
neat.
I remember even before they closed the Fulton County Stadium off, the upper deck in the outfield, you could get those seats for $1,
Mm-hmm.
and
We got in '91 when my brother came back from, or maybe in '92. My brother came back from Iraq, or actually, what's the country below Iraq?
Kuwait.
Kuwait.
When he came back from Kuwait,
from the oil fields.
he was in the oil fields. Yeah, with the National Guard. We took a trip down to Atlanta, both families, my family, his family, and we sat in the upper deck down third base side. Had the best, and that was the year that they clinched, and we had the best time at Fulton County Stadium during that time. And I mean, it was one of those where Sid Bream hit, and he's, bless his heart, he's trying to run. Sid had the worst gallop of anybody I've seen ever. But he could knock one out of the park every now and then.
Well,
but a great third baseman.
Kirk Gibson's walk-off grand slam that he hit, which clinched it for them. And and I'm going, guy can't even walk.
Yeah. But that was back when Atlanta had Glavin, had all of them. All those good,
Yeah.
they had good pitching staff. I mean, had an incredible pitching staff.
Glavin, Smotes, Maddox.
Yeah. And Maddox was incredible.
Oh, Maddox had that circle change.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
And they were all great golfers.
Yeah.
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 They were competitive.
Matter of fact, isn't Smotes trying to make it on?
I think he's played a little senior tour.
Really?
Right, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And
Yeah.
he's an excellent play-by-play color guy.
Yeah.
He's doing color on.
And then Tiger. Tiger
Hey,
makes it
I'm
back.
glad Tiger won another one.
I was
That-
pulling for him.
Yeah.
I've never seen a guy get kind of emotional like that after a win, but Tiger kind of got choked
Hey,
up a little bit.
When you've been through what he's been through.
Well, a lot of that's brought on his
Well,
own.
he did bring it on himself,
Well,
but
he brought it on. But the new
I
Tiger.
mean, ain't nothing like taking a 5-iron to the head. I mean, come on.
When you're sitting there watching him and McElroy
Yeah.
talking back and
Yeah.
forth, they were having a blast.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
I mean, they were having.
Well,
a
he was
blast,
finally
and they were
relaxed. He had a little bit of a lead, and then he made it a bigger lead. And then you can, when you're out, well, like anybody else, when you're out front, you can relax a little bit, So he finally gets down to his Sunday dress, red shirt, black pants, So then he's in the groove at that point, and it was a good
But
contest.
it was amazing to watch
Yeah.
the crowd
Yeah.
behind him. And
I
finally,
remember-
Rory and the two caddies said, we're out of here.
I remember on one of the U.S. Opens one time that he was on. I can't remember what hole it was or whatever, but the ball was like 30 feet from the cup, and I'm looking at it. I said, "Boy, that's gonna be a tough angle." And he walks and he looks. He looks the whole thing over. Next thing I know, he's standing at the ball and he's not even facing the cup. He hits this thing up the hill, and it circles around
Oh yeah.
and came and went in the hole. I'm going,
Kind of like one of your drives.
yeah.
It's called geometry.
Except his was rolling where mine was in the air.
It's a geometric arc.
His cousins on one of the family tournaments scramble tournaments we was in. First time that I played with them. And we were on, what was it, hole 12 down there at Stony Brook, the old hole 12, where you're coming back beside the creek.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody on my team, which Chip was and I were on the same team, had already hit, and Chip's ball was the closest one we could play at that time. And so it's my time to hit. Well, I tee it up. And, I hit the ball. It takes off straight over the creek. Well, his cousins are over in their car going, Next thing you know, here it comes back. And it has a big beech tree right down there before you get to the green. And it went over that tree, hit the ground, and rolled up on the green about 6 feet from the hole. Their cousin went to laughing to crying.
I can tell you the last time it was I hit a golf ball.
What decade was that?
That was 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Yep. Played golf with my close friend Rusty Reed, who passed away well over a month ago.
Right.
And bless his heart, he told me, he says you really need to find another sport.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to go. He wanted me to go with Keith and a couple other guys.
Well,
and I said he wanted me to pair up with him. I said, oh, okay. And he said playing best ball.
Yeah.
And he finally said after about 9 holes, he said, man, he says you just got to get another hobby. I said, I had one. I used to fly.
Well, we used to play fairly regular there for a while, and I still never consider myself a golfer. I'm a hacker.
Yep.
Yep.
But
there's those times you get out there and you'll hit that one good shot.
One sweet one.
Yeah, and you go, where did that come from? What did I do to hit it like that.
And why can't I do that again?
Why can't I do that more than once?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
You know, and somebody asked me, says, "Do you ever get any tips from a golf pro?" I said, "Yeah." They told me to find somebody that can play the game and give them a club store.
Gene Dixon, who used to be at Murfreesboro Golf and Country Club, told me basically the same thing. Find another hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were playing down in Mount Pleasant one day, playing with Jerry Twilla.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit a ball, and Jerry looked at me, and he said, "If I was you, I would take that Ping logo and that Titleist logo off before they sue you."
For defamation of character.
Another story about Mount Pleasant course. We was down there
That's funny.
and I'd won the honors by winning the hole before, so I get to tee off first. Well, there's another group out ahead of us, and they done gone good distance.
We said he could hit.
And I'm sitting there still waiting for him to get a little further before I.
And
hit
we're
my tee
telling
shot.
him to hit.
He said, "Oh, go ahead and hit. You can't reach them from where they're at." Wrong. I put it right in the back of their golf cart. On the fly.
On the fly.
Like you said, you hit that one good shot.
It was a good one. Because after you hit it, we're just like, well, I won't say what we said.
Holy.
But the next thing was 4.
Yeah.
And you never seen two guys bail off of a golf cart so fast in your life. But it hit, rattled, and fell right behind the cart, you know.
Beautiful tee
That's
shot.
funny. Now, I didn't know if anybody did not know, but in case you do not know, Rusty Reed, who was the owner of WLIJ in Shelbyville and WZNG, passed away about month to 6 weeks ago.
Yes.
He had a massive coronary. He and a buddy of his had gone down fishing. He loved
Deep sea fish.
Deep
Right.
sea fishing. So they were a couple of miles offshore, maybe 3 miles offshore, and they were fishing. And he had a massive coronary and passed away there on the boat. So I just want to say to Anita, his wife, and everybody else that I haven't said anything on prior sports show up until now. But because it's been kind of hard to do because Rusty and I were pretty close.
Yes.
And I worked for him for about 10 months back in 2011. And appreciate Rusty, appreciate his family. His dad, James, was a TSSAA official for years.
Okay.
And years and years. And our hearts and prayers go out to the Reed family.
You've yelled at him several times.
I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have.
We have.
I mean,
But he was also the Golden Flake distributor for this area.
Okay.
Well, he was like a step above the district manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah, Oscar was the main person I remember. Golden
Oscar
Flag.
was a route man.
Yeah.
But James was one of the.
Yeah, Russ.
upper
And
management guys.
Rusty's mom worked at Shelbyville Central High School for years and years and
Yeah.
years in the office there. So.
Well, I know Rusty sure treated us
Oh yeah.
like royalty whenever time we went over to Shelbyville, and matter of fact, he invited you and I to playoff games that they got to play over there.
Always
and
had us a pass.
he always had us a pass and had us a spot in the press box. So we, if the weather was bad, at least we're gonna be in the dry and all that. And he was just a
Rusty was a
top-notch-
class act.
top-notch fella, and I miss him.
Well, I miss him too.
I miss him. So
That's one of those tough things when you're going down your phone, you're looking at contacts, and all of a sudden you run across his number.
and I think we were remiss to even say anything about it. I can't remember if we even mentioned anything about the Spring Hill assistant coach,
Right,
that passed away, and young man, just in his 30s,
33,
and had a massive coronary, and thoughts and prayers go out to his family and
to those kids.
and to
all
those
up
kids.
on
That's
there,
right.
'cause it's
All right.
tough thing.
Right. I know they had, how they make little sayings on their fence out there with the solo cups and the chain link fence. And they said, do it for fish. And, I thought that was and somebody posted on Facebook when they played Riverdale, where the Spring Hill Band and the Riverdale Band had combined, and they played, I believe it was Amazing Grace, and then the football players released the balloons to, in his honor, and that was a very touching thing, It's got to be tough for everybody involved on that deal.
Sure it is, especially an 18-year-old, 17, 16,
Right.
15-year-old, somebody that you're working with every single day in practice.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, they're gone.
Right.
So.
And it makes you not take life for granted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing. You mentioned my retiring and everything tomorrow. That was one of the sayings that I told my wife. I said, I just don't ever want to have a heart attack and die at work.
Yeah. Well, thing about it is, and my biggest question is, to you.
Yes.
Are they giving you a retirement party?
I really don't know what they're going to do. But I did tell
Are they just going to slap you on the butt and say, go on?
I told my supervisor this morning, I said, I don't know how long I'm going to be here tomorrow. I said, I hadn't made up my mind yet. I said,
well, I can't fire you.
No. He said, you mean to tell me you wouldn't feel bad about slacking off and everybody else working?
No.
I said, no. not one bit. And then the team leader on the evening shift, he was talking to me this afternoon, and my supervisor was near, and he hollered over, and he said, "Hey Eddie," he said, "this man here's going to officially retire at 10 a.m. tomorrow. You want me to come in early and work his job?" He looked at me. He says, "You leaving at 10?" I said, "I didn't say I was leaving at 10. I said, "But I tell you this, I ain't gonna be doing too dang much right
at 10." Coming up this weekend, we need to mention this. Coming up this weekend, the 43rd Columbia Invitational Marching Contest at Lindsey Nelson Stadium.
43rd?
43rd.
Wow.
Now, it's not 43rd annual, but it's the 43rd because they had to skip one year. Never mind why. We'll just drop it right there. But it's the 43rd Columbia Invitational Marching Contest. It goes from 12:15 until
they're finished.
Until we're finished, about 9:15 or 9:30.
At night.
And, yeah, we've got 24 bands coming in. Did have 26. We had 2 pull out. But 24 bands will be there, and I am proud to be, again, asked to be the stadium announcer for Columbia Invitational Marching Contest.
Cool.
And if you want to see some, it's not like the old days. Now, the old days, all 3 of us remember, they get out there, they march, they play, they put on a show. Now it's just the show.
Yeah.
Marching is actually considered part of the visual. It's a step down from visual. So it's all a part of the show.
Uh-oh, you got a massage.
No, that's Mr. Ty Cobb, one of our co-hosts. He's still at City Council at a meeting that he had to attend to today, so that's one of the reasons he's not here. And Vance is with his beautiful granddaughter, Sutton.
Well, I can't blame him on that one.
No.
That little young lady has him wrapped around her finger.
She's got everybody she comes in contact with wrapped around that finger.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful
She loves
girl.
the camera, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. She sees the camera, boy, she starts smiling.
She hasn't seen a camera she doesn't like yet.
Yeah.
So that's where 2 of our co-hosts are, and we had a couple of people that we're going to schedule in advance or shows on down the road. Next week we'll probably get Jason Hoth in here to talk about the rest of the season, which now we're coming up into Murderer's Row at the end of the season for us. And then we'll have the soccer coach from Columbia State coming on to the first part of November.
Their inaugural season of playing soccer. And,
Sounds to me.
Sound like me that it might be Mr. Maurice Patton. Maybe?
No, it was
It's
Mrs.
either that
James.
Or Mrs. James going out the front door then. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. I was wrong. All I heard was the door, and I thought it might have been Maurice slipping in. It's about the time he slipped in on us last Thursday.
The last Thursday that we had him coming in here. So anyway, the Columbia Invitational is coming up this Saturday. So if you get a chance, you want to see some great bands. We got from all over the mid-state, and we got one band from Mississippi, and we got one band from Alabama, from down at
Greenbow. I'm sorry. I just had
no, the Greenbow Marching Gumps will not be here.
Marching Gumps.
Who
It
was
is
it?
from
The Shrimpsters.
I'm trying to. I don't have my list in front of me. It's from Huntsville, in and around the Huntsville area down there. Big band that we've seen.
Hazel
before.
Green.
Lee?
No, no, it's another high school band. I can't remember what it is.
Well, anyway, who was it that one year had the young lady that did the Flaming Batons?
Do not remember. But that was an Alabama band because they still use batons in Alabama.
And they were outstanding. She was outstanding.
Yes, she was.
She was twirling
Well,
2 and 3 flaming
Look
batons.
how many majorettes the University of Alabama
Still has.
Yeah. Right. About 100 of them.
All your SEC schools has got
Well,
Well,
majorettes,
but they're
right.
They're not called the $1 Million Band for nothing.
Well, that's true.
That's
true. They all look like
at one
models.
time, at one time, the reason they got that is because an announcer said,
They look like $1 million.
no, they said your team don't play worth a dime, but you got a band that looks like $1 million.
Oh, okay.
But they don't say that no more.
Yeah. Now,
Who's their next victim?
University of Louisiana Lafayette.
I was mad because
They didn't
I
score
didn't-
50.
They didn't get 50.
And
really
think
made
about
me
it, they
mad.
have 45 early in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they change quarterbacks,
But
and
they
he takes a direct snap and runs into the line.
Well, they changed quarterback. They put Hurts in there, but they did not let him
all they did
throw
is
the
let
ball.
him either hand it off or
hand it
run
off
straight
or
in the line.
Right. And then they put in their third string quarterback, and they kind of opened the playbook back up a little bit, but they still limited him. He only threw like 3 passes. The rest of it was just run, and it was basically straight at you.
All right, I hate to bring this up, but it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to talk about the dumpster fire, which is the University of Tennessee.
What you want to talk about?
First of all, they need time.
Absolutely.
Second of all,
absolutely,
they need players.
And I
Right,
guess I shouldn't
right.
use the term dumpster fire, but I'm sorry.
I mean,
Did you hear I can't remember if it was the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator spoke to one of the civic clubs earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave this comparison. He said, just imagine that you're the parents of the ugliest baby that's ever been born. Now, are you going to reject that baby, or are you going to take it, love it,
and nurture it.
teach it, nurture it, and bring it up? Well, that's the situation we're in. We've got the ugliest baby. We've got to nurture it. We got to teach it. We got to grow it.
I mean,
And hang with us.
I
And we're
understand.
going to
and
get there.
and here's the thing. Look at how many freshmen are out there on that field. They got as many as 14 freshmen on both sides of the ball that are seeing a whole lot of playing time.
And unfortunately, they're so-called 5 stars that were recruited by the
they
previous.
they were
Yeah.
not 5
They
stars.
were not 5 stars.
I don't know who gave them the
Well, it was
designation.
recruiting services.
Yeah, but some of those recruiting services are or what? Fly by night
Recruiting.
recruiting.
Or they're like us. There's three of us sitting together in here,
yeah.
and we say, "Oh, this guy, he should be a
I
first."
like him.
Yeah.
I like him
I
a
like.
lot.
I mean, you a lot of them base the thing on play that they see one time. You know,
Yeah.
they have a real good game. Well, yeah, he's a potential 5-star. But let's look at the work as a whole before we put a distinction on them.
Well, the fact remains, Jeremy Pruitt does not have a recruiting class as of yet.
Not yet. No.
So now we're looking at 5 years because it's going to take at least 4 for him to have what he wants on the field. Because it's like with anything else. When you got a new guy that comes in, he's going to have to pick and choose what he wants.
Well, I think his contract was for 5 years.
Well, that makes
you know,
sense.
Well, he's going to recruit to their system,
right?
and they may go a little more JUCO route.
To kind of help
you could see
in
that coming,
right? I mean,
and there's things, but right now they just don't have SEC caliber players.
No, they don't. They don't.
And so you go
What I'm
take your
concerned
beatings.
about, and what I'm really concerned about, the Florida game, you can almost.
Florida's not very good.
No.
But
But
what
when
I'm
you turn
saying is-
the ball over 6 times, and it's not even out of the third quarter
But
yet.
when you get to the third Saturday in October, there's going to be a slaughter.
Just like what we were talking about, you can say what you want to about Saban, but he will call the dogs off.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
Yeah, he called him off Saturday.
He called
Did he?
them off Saturday.
Yeah, he called them. Yes,
they
sir.
could have scored if they had left the starting quarterback in. They'd have scored 90
and started
points.
that. Yeah, easy.
And I mean, he called off the dogs. He always does that. You look at what the score is. in some of
It's
these-
unlike you remember in the old days when Oklahoma, Nebraska, USC, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, they would purposely run the score up on teams that they knew they could run the score
but they
up on.
had to do that because the sports
demanded
writers were the
it.
ones that were doing
Right,
the polls.
Right.
And at that
that's
time, the
all they would
BCS
look
and all
at.
that stuff.
That's all they would look
That's
at.
right.
And
Strength of schedule. The
They
whole thing.
didn't look at the strength of schedule.
No.
How bad did you beat
Yeah.
this one?
Right.
Now, if that had been Urban Myers coaching Alabama on Saturday,
Oh, he'd
have scored 90 points.
What?
Oh, yeah.
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 Or at least 70-something anyway.
But, I mean, like I said, you look at Saban over the years, and even on these 2A teams, whatever they're called now, FCS or
Division II, whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
FCS
but
is.
he'll call the dogs off real early.
Yeah.
And
I guarantee you.
Well, he's not going to embarrass Pruitt.
I guarantee you, Saturday, his starting offense may get 2, reps with the ball. I mean, two times with it, and then he'll start substituting. And before the game's over with, I guarantee you he'll probably have a 4th-string quarterback in there. And
probably a couple of those water girls.
yeah, but he might even go up and suit up some of the majorettes. I mean, I don't know.
But I mean, that's just, you can say what you say, but he does things in a class.
Well, what I'm concerned about is going to Georgia, playing LSU before you get to Alabama.
I'm worried about when they get into
Auburn.
to the schedule where they could. What about Kentucky?
Yeah.
Kentucky's
They're
Kentucky.
playing ball.
To be honest with you, I only see one more win possible on University of Tennessee's schedule this year, and that's against Charlotte.
Yeah.
Everybody else,
So they're going to go 0-8.
probably
SEC.
so. Probably so. I mean,
They could be 3-9.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're talking about 0-8 in the
And
SEC.
nobody's
yeah.
ever, no UT team's ever lost 9 games.
No.
Last year was the first one that lost 8.
Right.
So, but it's it's looking.
But
like
I've
it
talked
could
to a
be
lot of
right now.
UT faithful who are just they say give him time. And these
You
are
got
some
to.
these are some diehard
Well,
UT
I mean,
bleed orange tailgate, starting on Thursday kind of folk
You know,
that they say give him time because he doesn't have his own recruiting class yet.
no.
He's having to deal the cards that he was given.
Well, let's go back. Did we not do the same thing with Butch Jones?
Oh yeah, yeah.
We said give him time.
Yeah.
He's playing with
Well, they did brick by brick.
yeah,
We got
brick by
time.
brick. He just forgot to put the mortar in there.
But if
But
you,
as
if
far
you listen, if you listen to the kids when they're talking to the players and
Mhm.
stuff, they finally feel like they got a coaching staff that cares about them, that's pushing them to do their best, that expects them to do
their
and to
best.
perform,
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
and that's totally different than
Yeah.
what they were dealing with.
Well, yeah. I mean, Pruitt did kind of lose it a little bit on the sideline, but I think he was trying to make a point that he wanted to see more effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just felt like he wasn't seeing the effort being put forward, and I can understand frustration there. And Pruitt even took a unsportsmanlike penalty on himself there, or was assessed one anyway.
What is it in basketball you do if your team's lackluster?
You get a tag.
You get a tag.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Show
I
a
mean,
little fire.
so it just shows your team that, hey, I'm willing to stand up for you. Now start standing up for yourselves.
Of course, you could get told like Larry Brewer that night, that one more tech, and this game's done. I hadn't done anything.
I remember that night so well, and they done threw out the head coach, the assistant coach,
The bus driver.
the bus driver. Wasn't got the bus driver.
Well, the bus driver was.
Bus driver was last.
No, they
last
threw out the men's coach.
right, threw out the men's coach,
This
and
was
then
women's
they
game.
got the bus driver. He was their last person they could get.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they told him, says, one more tech, and this game's over. He said, you ain't going to get one from me because I don't know what the heck's going on or anything about it. I don't know basketball. I just drive the bus.
And Larry, of course, was,
And he said, if it's another tech, it'll be from one of
That's
the
funny.
girls, But
he called Cliff up from the end of the bench when he was the trainer. They were down in one of the directional Alabama schools. Said, you better come up here. He'd already got his first one. He said, better come sit beside me because you're fixing to have to coach. Sure enough, about a minute, two later,
That was down at Phil Campbell.
Phil Campbell. Yeah, because he told the official.
You
call
call that
this
like
game
you're,
like
you're
you're
from
from
Phil
Phil
Campbell.
Campbell.
And he was.
He was. That's what he told him. He teed him up, and he said, I am.
Oh, that's funny.
And Cliff coached for 2 minutes.
Did he?
Yep.
Wow.
Well, and Coach Connor, the boys coach,
Yeah, he came up and
I never will. I got so tickled. They were playing, and Connor had substituted and had the player right there on the bench.
and he was making a point. to him.
He got down on one knee and was making a point to the player, and he had his foot stuck out in the court, and he tripped the guy on the other team, and he said, "Look, I got you on advantage, and you still can't do nothing with it."
Wow.
But
There's
yeah,
some
it's-
fun nights out there.
It's not going to be pretty Saturday, But there again, there's a chance Georgia may call the dogs off a little bit.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Has anybody heard
Um,
if Jackson's got back yet or not?
He is up for some kind of award down at
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
Campbell Award or
Yeah.
something like that.
And
Congratulations
that's
to
highly.
him.
It's a prestigious award.
Yeah, it
and
is.
Yeah.
The top finalists get
And I
a pretty good chunk of
believe, if
change.
I'm not mistaken, if he were here, we could find out. if I think Maurice is going to do a story on that, which I think
Yeah.
is pretty cool. And the Daily Herald, make sure you check out Maurice Patton, sports editor of the Daily Herald.
Nostradamus.
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, and Columbia Central got a bye
Yes.
Friday night,
Yes.
so
Try to
you
get
know.
everybody healthy.
yeah, they got an extra week.
Yep,
So.
they do.
Yep.
All right, guys, that is it for tonight. Appreciate y'all coming in, and
Hey, glad to be here.
we will be back next week, 6 o'clock Central Time. Shout out to my brother in New Jersey, Tom, and his wife, Frankie, and their kids and grandkids.
All right.
I just thought I'd do that.
Good night, Jim.
We are out of here.